everybody, welcome back to another edition of Homemade. And today, you all, we are making, of course, it is one of my favorites, but it is just a simple banana nut bread. Now, I'm just getting out of church and I want something sweet, but I'm trying to do better, with my eating habits. So, instead of making a cake, which I don't feel like it anyway, I just decided to go ahead and make some banana nut bread because I had some bananas that they're about a week old now. Now they're not, like at the really brown stage, or should I say the going bad stage so far, but they were beginning to turn. So I wanted to go ahead and use those. Now, I will say this: if you are preparing the banana nut bread, the darker your bananas are, or should I say the browner that they are and the mushier that they are, they make the best bread. Hands down. No joke. We are going to prepare this bread in like 5 minutes. Put it into the oven. The longest time for this bread is the cooking process. It takes about an hour for the bread to cook thoroughly. So just keep that in mind. We do have our oven preheated to 350 degrees, but you all, this bread is worth the wait. So I'm going to go ahead and I just have my potato masher, and I am going to start to mash my bananas. And you want to make sure that you mash these really well. Alrighty, now that our bananas are mashed, we are going to go ahead and start to assemble our bread. So we're going to put our bananas into this larger bowl. To that, I am going to add 1/2 cup of mayo. Yes, mayo. And if you're used to cooking, especially I would say if you're old school cooking, my grandmother taught me, well, actually my grandma and my mom, they taught us that if you don't have an egg for your cornbread or anything like that, use some mayo. But we're just using this because it does actually give the bread a really moist flavor. I'm going to add 1 room temperature egg, and it is the whole egg. Now I'm going to whisk that up really well together. You want to make sure that you break up your egg. Really important. Now, you don't want to over mix it, but you do want to make sure that it's mixed in really well. That's good enough. Now we're going to set that aside. In this bowl, I have 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. I also have about a fourth or a pinch of salt. I would say a fourth of a tablespoon of salt. And I do have 1 full teaspoon of baking soda. To that, I am going to add 1/4 cups of brown sugar, and I'm also going to add 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. Kind of break my brown sugar up really well. To that, I'm going to add 1/3 cup of chopped pecans, and I'm also adding 1/3 cup of chopped walnuts. Mix that in really well. We're going to go ahead and start to mix in our bread. And you're just going to pour the flour mixture into your banana and eggs and mayo. Now this mixture It is not going to be a thin mixture. It is going to be fairly thick. But once you see your flour disappear, you want to stop mixing it. So I just kind of whisk it for about 45 seconds to 1 minute. Our bread is done. Now we're going to pour this into our loaf pan, and I think this is about, I'm not sure of the size, but it's not a really large loaf pan, and it's not a small one. I did line mine with parchment paper, but I'm still going to go ahead and spray it with my spray. I'm going to take my bread and pour it into my pan. Now I'm going to shake that out, make sure it's evenly spread. Now in this bowl, I have about 3 tablespoons of my chopped nuts, and I have about a half a teaspoon of just flour. And I'm going to coat these nuts in the flour because I'm going to sprinkle them on the top, and I don't want them to sink down into my batter. So I'm just going to sprinkle that. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this into my oven that's preheated to 350 degrees for 1 hour. After that hour mark, I am going to come back, check the center of my bread. If it is done, I'm going to take it out. Now, after I take it out of the oven, I will melt 3 tablespoons of butter. After that butter is melted, I am going to pour it over my bread evenly. And I'm going to take 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar, 1 tablespoon of brown sugar, mix those together, and I am going to sprinkle that over my bread. Let it cool for about 10 minutes before I actually cut into it because I do want it to rest. And you all, we are going to sample this goodness. Now that I've taken the bread out of the oven, you all, and it smells so good, I'm going to go ahead. Now you can still see our flour on our nuts, but that's totally fine because our butter is going to take care of that. See how it's already getting that ash off. Now I'm going to take my sugar, and I have 1 teaspoon of my brown sugar and about 2 teaspoons of my granulated sugar. And you may not need all of it, but I just like to sprinkle that on top. Now you all, we are going to let our bread rest for a few minutes, but look at our bread. We're going to come back and we are going to cut into this. It looks so good. You all, this banana bread is so moist and fluffy and just, oh my God. When you try it, make sure you leave your comments in the comment section below. Let me know if you liked it, if you tried it, if you didn't like it, whatever. Let me know. If you want to keep seeing these easy recipes, make sure you like, subscribe, and share our channel. Cooking, once again, is an experiment. It's also as easy or as hard as you make it. But I promise you, if you just keep it simple, be yourself, life in itself can be so much easier. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Homemade. And until next time, continue to be great.